Loss of control in flight is the most common cause of fatal accidents in general aviation, and loss of visual references is identified every year as an important factor in that loss of control. When conducting a VFR flight, it is vital to remain in conditions which allow you to maintain that visual reference. This starts at the pre-flight planning stage by analysing the weather observations and forecast in relation to the proposed flight, and using these to construct a mental picture of the conditions to be expected and to prepare yourself for the decisions you might have to make. However, despite this and constant vigilance, it is possible for an increased workload, decisions made incorrectly or too late, or stress to lead a pilot in a matter of seconds into a situation where he has to fly his aircraft without visual references. Even in apparently very good weather, it is possible to completely lose visual references. When flying over water, the sky may merge with the sea and deprive the pilot of the external horizon. Before every flight, you should check each instrument in the panel and ensure you understand its indications. It is part of the familiarization training necessary before flight in an unfamiliar aircraft, and should indicate whether it is technically possible to use the available instruments to control the aircraft without external references, and to judge how difficult that task is likely to be. Regulations dictate the instruments required for particular flights. In a particular state, the basic requirements are an airspeed indicator, a slip ball, a compass and a clock. An altimeter is required for flight in controlled airspace, a VOR or GPS for flight above cloud, and a variometer for gliders. With such basic instrumentation, to paraphrase a quote from a male pilot, after losing visual references comes eternity. You've got an artificial horizon. It's the most practical instrument to assist a pilot in flying without visual references. The attitude indicator or artificial horizon models the real horizon. On the instrument face, we can distinguish symbols representing the aircraft and a bar representing the horizon, often, as in this case, with pitch angle marks parallel to it. The aircraft symbol is generally a dot with two lines, symbolizing wings on either side of it. It may also be represented by a flat triangle. Comparing the aircraft symbol with the horizon symbol gives the aircraft's attitude in roll and in pitch. The transition between using visual references and those from instruments is critical. It is a question of changing your interpretation of the aircraft's attitude from a global perspective. That is to say, from using the whole visual field to having to model that attitude by concentrating on the area of a saucer, and in the case which concerns us, while in a stressed condition. Furthermore, conflicting information from other senses are likely to encourage spatial disorientation. However, if you do not panic, the situation, while critical, is not desperate. If you are already including the artificial horizon in your external scan, the transition should be easier. The first action in the event of degradation or loss of visual references is to level the wings. To achieve this, place the wing symbols parallel to the horizon by moving the flying controls to roll towards the high wing. Having achieved that, select a pitch attitude of between 2 and 4 degrees, nose up, at the same time applying sufficient engine power to allow the aircraft to stabilize in a gentle climb. Normal cruising power should suffice. It is probable that you will tense up on the controls. While keeping firm, hold on the controls. You need to relax your grip sufficiently to feel the forces involved. Remove your feet from the rudders, then replace them without exerting pressure. Having achieved wings level, how can you use the horizon to achieve and maintain a precise pitch attitude? You should place the dot precisely on the graduation marks on the instrument face, if there are any. Having selected a point on the instrument face which will give you the pitch attitude you want to select, place the dot on that point and memorize its position. The dot may be in the center of a pitch mark, or part of it may touch part of the mark, such as the bottom of the dot aligned with the bottom of the mark, or the top of the dot touching the top of the mark, depending on the attitude you require. Pitch attitude control should be carried out in this manner and with this precision. Check again that your wings are level. The most disorientating sensory illusion is that of a bank angle different from the indicated or the artificial horizon. You have the impression you are leaning to the right, and the artificial horizon indicates you are banked to the left. You must move the control column to the right, even though you feel you are already leaning that way. Once you have corrected and brought the wing markings parallel to the horizon bar, this very unpleasant sensation should gradually disappear. Have you maintained the pitch attitude you selected? The artificial horizon is the cornerstone of your flying. It has to be the center of your scan. Any necessary thinking must be done while maintaining your attitude, with your eyes fixed on the artificial horizon. You need to maintain balance, so the ball needs to be in the center. Note the direction of rudder force required. If the ball is not centered, your aircraft will turn slowly, but surely in the opposite direction to the ball, increasing your workload. Concentrating on the artificial horizon, you need to check your speed. There is the airspeed indicator just to the left. Glance at it to read the speed and return immediately to the attitude. Think, do you need to adjust the pitch angle? To what angle? Do you need to adjust the engine power? The altimeter is there, just to the right. Glance at it to read the altitude and any movement. Return to the attitude. The aircraft is at 1,500 feet and climbing. What is my heading? A glance down, I read the heading, and I return to the artificial horizon. To what altitude must I climb? In which direction must I fly to avoid terrain, obstacles, and protected airspace, and get back to conditions which allow visual flight again? When maneuvering on instruments, there should be no need to use more than 15 degrees of bank and never exceed 30 degrees. To follow a particular heading, you should restrict yourself to 5 degrees. As soon as you have stabilized your situation, pass a distress message either on the frequency in use or 121.5. Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. For make no mistake, losing visual references during a VFR flight is a classic distress situation, endangering not only your own aircraft, but every other aircraft flying in your area. We have covered the technique to be used if you have lost visual references, and a brief description of instrument scan principles. What other instruments could be used to control an aircraft without visual references? It is just possible to do so provided you have at least a gyroscopic instrument and an altimeter. The needle or aircraft fin on the turn coordinator shown indicates the rate of turn, that is to say how rapidly the aircraft's heading is changing. However, your inputs from turbulence or out of balance flights or rapid control movements will affect the indication, giving a misrepresentation of the actual rate of turn. This makes the instrument much more difficult to use than the artificial horizon. Smooth handling and a well-balanced flight provide the instrument with the best conditions for use in controlling bank. Pitch control relies on the altimeter. When the altimeter needle is not moving, the pitch attitude is correct for level flight. Beware, the vertical speed indicator takes time to establish and stabilize its indications. It should not be used to control pitch attitude. It might be feasible to use a direction indicator to control bank angle, but that is not a simple matter. The relationship between bank angle and rate of turn, which would have to be determined visually, does not allow precise control. Let us finally consider a classic trap. You are flying just below the clouds as the ground rises beneath you. You look down at your map or your GPS. Looking back outside, everything is grey. Instinctively, you push forward on the control column to regain sight of the ground. Don't do it. You could reach the vertical before you see it again. This video should have taught you that if a pilot needs to change the aircraft's attitude, it is imperative to positively select a predetermined one. Many loss of control accidents could have been avoided by applying this basic and very simple principle. Thank you for your attention. We wish you pleasant and safe flying in the future.